but okay. Here we go.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fun with Friends podcast. I'm your host, Allie. This episode is a very belated look back at my year at 2020. And also, I just want to say congrats to everyone that is currently listening to this episode. You have survived the first annual Hunger Games. The second season of the Hunger Games is just getting started. So, may the odds be ever in your favor. So, yes, as you guys all know, 2020 was a massive dumpster fire, and I think we all kind of experienced new things in some way in 2020. I actually had a really good year, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say that without like getting some hate from folks. But my 2020 was actually pretty good as a introvert and one that has hermit-like tendencies. I rather enjoyed everything being shut down. It was quite nice. I can't really complain too much. But I did want to record an episode looking back at 2020 and kind of seeing what I accomplished and what I did not accomplish, using what I had recorded back at the beginning of 2020 for my 2019 in review episode, which, if you want to listen to that, it is season 1, episode 8, I believe. And in that episode, I kind of list off all of my hopes and dreams for 2020. So I thought it'd be fun if I went back and listened to that, and then in this episode kind of told you what I had accomplished and what I hadn't accomplished based on that episode, and also highlight some of the pros of the year and what I'm looking forward to in this year, in 2021. So that's kind of what I'll be going over in this episode. I don't have a guest. I don't have any recordings. So this is, I think, my first solo episode of season 2. I hope you enjoy it and that you do not tire of my voice. So let's jump into it. To kick things off, I want to share some of the stats about the podcast. Thanks, Spotify, for sharing these with me. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how I'd done in 2020, so I appreciate it. So in 2020, I dropped 21 episodes, which kind of blows my mind. I didn't think I had recorded that many episodes, so that's super cool. So I dropped 21 episodes totaling 867 minutes of content. So the podcast grew by 204% in the US, which is awesome AF. I also, there are 11 countries that have heard this lovely voice that you're hearing right now. So that's also pretty sweet. I do have to give a shout out to England, Ireland, and Finland. I think they are my top listeners, or top countries, I guess, besides the US. So I appreciate you, and thanks so much for listening. Please don't stop listening. So it's been kind of bananas watching the podcast grow, and 2020 was definitely an interesting year to record, especially for a podcast like mine that is based on getting out and trying new things and going to activities and events and like hanging out with your friends. And when everything shut down, I really had to kind of pivot and think about how I was going to continue to record, especially since we couldn't do anything. And there was a point where I actually kind of said, fuck it, and was going to end the season. And, at that time, everyone was like, oh, give it 2 or 3 months and COVID will have passed and then everything will be back to normal. So I was like, yeah, that's great. I can take, 2 to 3 months off of recording and then pick up with season 2, and that'll just be like my season break. I was totally like set to do that, and I can't remember exactly which friend it was, but someone kind of mentioned that like this would be a good time to think outside of the box and look into virtual online type events and start recording episodes based on those virtual events, because no one could get out and do anything. So why not kind of try to provide people with alternatives to kind of entertain themselves with? Thought that was a great idea and decided to record like bonus quarantine episodes. So there are, I think 4 or 5 bonus quarantine episodes from season 1 for 2020 where I did online things. So like I did a virtual tour of the Winchester house, virtual yoga with Carly. And then in season 2, Carly recorded another episode with me, which I think is also episode 2 in season 2. And it's about her trip that she went on when one of her friends won a trip to Croatia from Tinder. So that's a super fantastic episode. It might be one of my favorites. Yeah, quarantine really kind of pushed me to think outside the box when it came to recording episodes and how I was going to do that. And I think it turned out all right. It was definitely something new, which is in line with the podcast. So it all worked out. In late 2020, I started season 2 of the podcast, and I hit my 1-year mark of podcasting, which is insane. Still can't believe I have a podcast because I don't know. It just seems weird to me that I have one, but I do, and I love it. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy to me. But yeah, I started season 2 in 2020, and I kicked it off with the episode with Sahara Rose DeVore, who is the founder of the Travel Coach Network. That episode kind of really set the pace for season 2. It's very ironic, but season 2 is almost all the episodes are travel focused, and there's a reason for that, which I will get into a little later in this episode. But I couldn't have done it without so many amazing women being open to sharing their knowledge and their stories with the world. And I was lucky enough, actually, Carly, again, invited me to this online kind of summit workshop for women who were, interested in travel or interested in like starting their own business or, the mixture of both, like a travel business. And that kind of kicked off everything. Like I met all these just absolutely amazing people who had done so many awesome things. I left that first meeting just going, holy shit, I got to talk to every single person in here. And then it kind of went from there, and I joined another group, and now I have this amazing online community or, like Zoom group of women that I've been podcasting with and interviewing over the last several months. So it's been super awesome, and they're all amazing people, and I can't wait for the day when we actually all get to meet in person, because it's going to be just fucking fantastic. Like I cannot wait, but could not have done season 2 without them, and I can't wait to continue podcasting with them. And overall, 2020 was really a great year for the Fun with Friends podcast. And so far, 2021 is really shaping up to be just as great. So I'm really looking forward to continuing to watch the podcast grow, hopefully, right? And kind of seeing where the rest of season 2 will take us, and to start planning for season 3, which I think will be even more interesting if everything goes according to plan. So more on that later in the year, I think. So that is kind of a look at my podcasting journey of 2020 and where I'm at so far in 2021. In this next part, I want to look at the goals or the hopes. I think I called them hopes in my episode from season 1 for the 2019 review. So I kind of want to look at those goals and hopes that I had for 2020 and see what I achieved and what I didn't. And again, these, if you want to hear that episode, it's 2019 in review, and it's episode 8 of season 1. So the first thing I mentioned wanting to do in that episode is learning how to use my fancy podcast equipment. I've not done this yet. I'm still working on it. Maybe I will get to it by the end of 2021. Maybe not. I'm doing okay with how I'm podcasting so far. I think it's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm satisfied with how it's going. Also, podcasting is all remote right now, or interviews, I guess, since I am an interview podcast. I'm spending a lot of time on Zoom and on StreamYard and trying to find various platforms that have good audio for recording interviews with people on the other side of the world. So that's been challenging. There's definitely been a lot of technical issues, people freezing, audio dropping out, that type of stuff. But yeah, I know how to use Zoom and I know how to use StreamYard. So right now that's my podcasting equipment. And it's doing okay. But I do still have a bunch of fancy equipment that I did purchase when I first started podcasting that I still don't know how to use. So I would like to learn how to use that eventually, and maybe one day record with it even. I don't know if that'll happen in 2021 though. We'll see. The second thing I mentioned wanting to do in 2020 is to keep on traveling. Yes, let's all collectively laugh at that one. In 2019, I went on my first international trip to Scotland. And so one of my goals for 2020 was to keep traveling and to continue to, push myself to go abroad and have those adventures. Obviously, no one was traveling in 2020. So that did not happen. But because traveling was not a thing, I decided that season 2 of the podcast was going to be focused on travel because it's something I really want to do, and I want to learn everything I can about traveling abroad, especially going as like a solo female traveler, and what that experience is like. And yeah, just pick up all kind of the tips and tricks that I can. So I'm kind of using season 2 as to my own advantage, I guess, to learn more about traveling abroad and living abroad and working abroad. And I don't know, like I'm really enjoying season 2 and all of the travel information. So I hope other people are as well. And I'm kind of seeing it as a way to get that travel fix when we can't travel right now. And it's also kind of like with all the tools and everything that my guests are sharing, it's a great way to kind of start preparing for when we can travel again. And so that's kind of why season 2 has turned into I've gone into a little bit of a travel podcast area that I'm really enjoying. And it also, it's about trying new things and getting out there. And a lot of people have not been able to, travel abroad by themselves or live abroad or just like traveling as a couple or traveling with your friends, and how to do that and what are some tips and what do you recommend and things like that. So it's still on brand with the Fun with Friends podcast, but it's kind of a different approach to it. And like I said, I'm really enjoying it and I'm learning a lot and have met amazing people through this season. And so I hope the listeners are also enjoying it, because that's the type of content you're going to get until the end of season 2, I think. In the 2019 in review episode, I also mentioned that in 2021, I wanted to go on a trip with my friend Leslie to somewhere with beaches. And we actually booked that trip. We were going to go January of 2021. We were going to go to Hawaii, and we had like a condo in this like really nice resort. We were going to go for 8 days and had that all set up, and we were like ready to rock. And then again, you know, the world ended, and COVID kind of put a stop to that in January of 2021. So that didn't happen either, but you know, it's all right. It's all right, man. We got other opportunities. Let's see. What else did I have on here? Oh, yes. Another goal. I wanted to self-publish in 2020 because I had participated in National Novel Writing Month. And so in 2020, I wanted to finish editing that book and then self-publish. And that's, you can hear more about National Novel Writing Month or NaNoWriMo in season 1, episode 9. I did not self-publish. I did start editing that book and have been editing that book for the last year. I did, however, participate in NaNoWriMo again in 2020, which I was kind of on the fence about. I wasn't going to because I didn't feel like I had the time to really devote to it. But then at the last second, I was like, fuck it. You know, might as well give it a try. And I had this story idea in my mind that I'd been kicking around for like months. And so I decided it was time to try to put it on paper. So I did participate in NaNoWriMo in 2020. I did not get anywhere close to the 50,000 word count. I got about 17,000 words, I think. But it was good to sit down and kind of devote that time again to writing and to start putting that new story, that new project on paper. So I did not win NaNoWriMo this year, or I guess last year in 2020. But it was, you know, it's always fun to participate and the community is always great. So can't really complain about that. And some of the other things, I wanted to focus on my physical health in 2020. I did not do that at all. I think I actually might have taken steps backwards in that area. Definitely went full hermit mode 2020, like more so than I already am want to do. Like I went full hermit and may have become one with my couch at some point. So definitely did not meet that hope, that goal that I had for 2020. In the episode for the 2019 review, I talk about wanting to take some exercise classes. Did not take any, again, COVID. I did take, again, an online yoga class with Carly, so I feel like that counts a little bit. I also talk about wanting to get into dance again or taking a dance class in 2020, and I did do that. Myself, Julie, and Portia did. We went to the Dance Place DC and we took a modern dance class. That's season 1, episode 12, if you want to listen to it. It's a great episode. It's super fun. And it was really fun. Like I really enjoyed taking that class. It was hard, and it also reminded me of how uncoordinated I am. So always good to be reminded of that. But it was a really good time. I also mentioned wanting to get into basketball and joining like some rec leagues and, you know, shooting some hoops. Didn't do that. Absolutely did not do that at all. Spend more time outdoors. Meh. I kind of did that, I think, but not as much as I should have, especially since I was working from home for most, you know, still am doing that. So could have been better. Could have been better. I mentioned wanting to move somewhere in 2020 or early 2021, and by God, I did that. I packed up my shit and moved to North Carolina, and I moved in with Katie, who's been on several episodes of this podcast. I moved in with Katie and her husband, and they are letting me squat with them. So that's been great. I got out of DC and am living in North Carolina now. And it was kind of fun to listen to that episode, the 2019 in review, and hear myself talk about how I wanted to move somewhere that had a small town vibe, that was like super chill and, you know, like the exact opposite of kind of the DC area. And I definitely did that. The only thing that I am missing is it being close to water, although there is a small lake across the road from me. But I'm out in the country of North Carolina, just chilling, living my best hermit life. So I did achieve that goal. So that's a win. I'll take it. I also mentioned wanting to build my empire, and I kind of talked about wanting to find a way to be more creative in some way and to own my own business, and kind of combining those two things, like my photography and writing and all those things, and talking about how I thought that was what I wanted to do when I grow up. And so I did that. I quit my job. So in 2019, I quit the job I'd been with for 7 years and started a new job in DC. And in 2020, I quit that new job after being there for a year. So in August of 2020, I left DC and I started my own business. I had legitimized, I guess, Coots Creations in 2019. And in 2020, I decided to go all in and quit my job. It's one of the reasons why I moved in with Katie and Anthony, because they're kind of letting me use the space to have, like low overhead, so I can really focus on standing my business up and not be so focused on, like paying thousands of dollars in rent as I would have been if I'd stayed in kind of the DC area. So I am attempting to really start my own business. So Coots Creations is all about providing affordable and accessible creativity. And part of that is providing branding and marketing assistance for creatives by creatives. It's podcasting, it's social media support, education on social media, and providing resources and tools to creatives so they can kind of build their own businesses and brands. And of course, there's photography thrown in there as well, headshots, business portraits, kind of wrapping it all into one nice little bundle for creatives, which of course includes podcasters. It's definitely been a challenge. I think anyone who says that they've like quit their 9-to-5 and started their own business and it was like perfect and all like sunshine and rainbows is they're full of shit. I don't think anyone has had that experience. There are always, I think, challenges in some area of starting your own business. Some of the struggles for me personally have been staying motivated. Now that I don't have to be up every day at, 7 a.m. so I can get on a bus and head into DC or log on to my computer and be present for a meeting, it's really hard for me to motivate myself to stick to a regular schedule and to get shit done. It's one of the reasons why this episode is a week late. Because I could not motivate myself to record an episode. So finding that motivation and staying focused and kind of like creating your own schedule is definitely something that I'm struggling with as a business owner and working for myself. That's been probably like the main thing that I've struggled with the most, is just holding myself accountable and finding that motivation to actually get shit done. So that's been a hard thing for me to deal with and to kind of sort through as I've transitioned from always kind of having deadlines and having those kind of motivate me to just almost free falling and trying to, scramble and find footholds wherever I can. So it's been interesting, but it's also been great. Like, I love working for myself. Obviously, like, financially, there's always a struggle, but knock on wood, it's picking up, so I'll take it. But it's yeah, I don't know. It's been really interesting, and it's definitely pushing me and kind of making me realize, things about myself. Like, I need someone to hold me accountable, and I need someone to help, like, motivate me, because I have a hard time doing that for myself. So it's been a learning process, but I am really enjoying it, and I still feel like I'm getting a handle on it. Like, I've been, I guess, working for myself now for 8 months, maybe less than that, maybe like 6. I'm not sure. I don't know. Time doesn't exist. So I feel like I'm still getting, the hang of it and figuring out what I'm doing and where I'm going. I definitely have big plans for this year, for 2021, for the business that I can't wait to share with everyone when they're ready to be shared. This has been something, like, having my own business and working for myself has been something I've wanted since I was a small child, and it's been a big thing on my bucket list for as long as I can remember. So it's kind of cool that I can finally say that, like, I'm trying it, and it'll either work or it won't. And if it doesn't, that's fine. Like, I'll go back and get a normal job and go back to the 9 to 5, which, thinking about that is, I don't want to do that. So I got to make this work. If you're like me and you're just getting started with podcasting, it can be scary and overwhelming. That's why Anchor is such a great choice. It's one of the easiest ways to make a podcast, and best of all, it's free. It also has great creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Another great feature of Anchor is that they'll distribute your podcast for you. Your listeners will be able to access your podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others. You can also make money from your podcast using Anchor, and that's with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place, and it's easy to use. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Let's see. Some of the other things I mentioned in the 2019 review that I wanted to do in 2020, I wanted to visit my family in Nebraska. I hadn't seen them for like 3 years, I think it was. And so my goal was to get back to Nebraska and see the fam. And I did achieve that. So that's check mark. Got that one too. One of my younger brothers got married, and it was the perfect opportunity to go home. And it also was pretty amazing because they asked me to take photos for their wedding. And it was actually my first wedding shoot that I'd ever done. But it plays into one of my other goals for 2020, which was to take more photos. So check that off too. It was really great, and I was really kind of touched, I guess, or honored to be able to participate in their wedding in that capacity and kind of capture that special day for them. And I also stayed with them, so it was fun to kind of be there like a week before leading up to the wedding and taking a lot of like candid photos and doing that whole photo shoot. So it was really great to be able to go home and see family, and then also to, of course, go to my little brother's wedding. It was super sweet and like a really special experience. All right. What are some other ones? Oh, I wanted to start planning for my next international trip in 2020, and I actually did that as well. I started working with Geneva of Unwrap Your Map. She's been on an episode in season 2 as well, and she is helping me plan to go abroad for an extended period of time, probably like 3 months or so, to Ireland. I was actually supposed to go in March, like a couple weeks from now. I'm supposed to be in Ireland, but things got shifted because of the new variant of COVID. So that's on hold for now, but plans are still in the works. So I'm hoping to be spending some of 2021 in Ireland and Scotland and hopefully Wales, kind of traveling around, taking photos and just living that digital nomad life. Yeah. Oh, hopefully it happens. If not, 2022, here we come. Hopefully. Some other like smaller hope goals of 2020: rock climbing, adventure park, warrior dash, skydiving, photography, and writing retreats. Did not do any of those things at all. I did purchase tickets for Tara and I to go to like a rope course, and had to cancel that. We still have tickets though, so one day we'll go and we'll do that, but not right now. And I think that's mostly all of the things that I wanted to achieve for 2020 that I did not. I did or did not. I didn't achieve too many of them, but like I said, 2020 was a bit of a dumpster fire, so I don't feel terrible about it. Yeah, don't feel bad about it at all. So now I'm going to share some of the highlights of 2020. So these are some things that I did that I did not have, that were not 2020 hopes, I guess. I started teaching myself how to draw. I got my first ever Apple product that I've ever owned. I got an iPad, one of the fancy ones, and downloaded Procreate, and I've been teaching myself how to do digital art and illustrations, and have kind of incorporated that into my business as well. Kind of allows me to be really creative and think outside the box, and so I'm really enjoying that part of my business. I participated in a maker's market, which is I think it's the last bonus episode before season 2, and it's just called Bonus Makers Gonna Make. Such a brilliant name. So I participated in the Alexandria Makers Market, and I held a workshop on starting a podcast on a budget. So the focus of that workshop was the first 5 steps of starting a podcast, like finding your niche or like your listeners, picking the title, the topic, and then walking through like various equipment and various hosting platforms and editing software, all the way through getting it distributed through hosting platforms, and all of that. So that was a cool little workshop that I put on. And then I also had a session for business portraits or headshots, and that one actually sold out, which was super cool. I think it was the only session of the Makers Market that sold out, and that was just fantastic. Like it definitely pushed me, because it was I had 15 minutes per person to just take as many photos as I possibly could, and then I had like 5 minutes between each person, and there were 6 people. So it was a very kind of like forced me to think of different positions for different people really quickly, and I guess, I don't know, tested my photography skills, but it was super fun and I really enjoyed it. Then also through the Makers Market, I participated in it was the Capital Makers Fair, I believe is what it's called. And I participated in a panel that was about how small businesses can pivot in a time of COVID. And so I talked about pivoting as a podcaster and how small businesses should also consider starting podcasts, especially like if you're in a creative field, like if you're an artist. Starting a podcast is a great way. It's great content. Like if you have a Patreon, having a podcast as part of your Patreon is a great way to bring in more people that are willing to kind of like pay for that extra content. And, just kind of talked about how in general, podcasting is a great way to kind of expand your brand as a small business owner. Now that we're kind of living in a space where people aren't necessarily going out as much and they're consuming more podcasts, it's again a great way to reach a broader audience and kind of share your business and your brand. So I participated in that panel and kind of spoke to that, and it was great. Like, it was something I never thought I would have done. I was kind of nervous for it. I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare, but I don't know. It was like super cool. I was like, I'm on a fucking panel. Like, I felt like, it was pretty sweet. Felt like I was real professional talking about podcasts. So that was definitely a highlight. And then, of course, the little brother getting married was a huge highlight. Moving to North Carolina. I got another tattoo in 2020, which was something I mentioned in 2019. I wanted to get more tattoos. And so I did that. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of other 2020 highlights. I think that's pretty much been it, just like, starting my own business has been like the highlight of 2020. So it's fucking wild that I'm doing it, that I'm trying it out. So, blows my mind. So my 2021 goals or hopes are kind of similar to my 2020 ones. Like, I still want to be physically fit, so need to start working out. Haven't really done that yet, and we're in February now, so I gotta get my shit together and I need to get on that. Yeah, need to do that. I am working on launching a podcast coaching program, which kind of takes my original how to start a podcast on a budget workshop and goes a little more in depth. It's a 4-week program where there will be a cohort of future podcasters, and we will walk through week by week, step by step, how to start a podcast. And by the end of that 4 weeks, they will be ready to start their podcast. I'm excited about it because it's not your typical, like, it's not a master class where you just go and you listen to someone talk. They just talk at you, or it's a course that you can do on your own time. Like, it's built to be an interactive space where you can ask questions and you get feedback in the moment. And it's really about kind of building that community with the participants of the program. So I'm really excited for it, and it's something I'm currently in the process of building. So I'm hoping to launch that in 2021. More information to come. I'm really looking to continue to build my podcast planners, which are available in Etsy. They're digital podcast planners. My goal with those is to really build a product that is made for podcasters. And, I'm hoping folks will purchase them and then provide me with feedback, because I want to have a product that is actually useful for podcasters, because that's something I've struggled with, is finding a good podcast planner that has everything I need, or everything I think I need. So that's why I built them, because I couldn't find one. And I'm also working on building social media templates for podcasters and a bunch of other kind of like podcast related templates that I'm excited to get out there. Hopefully I just want to make the planning side of podcasting a little easier for folks, and have that be kind of a fun experience for everyone, rather than something that just kind of like sits on the back burner that they kind of forget about until they have to post. So I'm hoping to make that whole process a little funner and a little more kind of easygoing for the podcasters out there. I am hoping to go to Ireland still later in the year for 3 months. Hoping to get back to Nebraska again. I'm hoping to meet some of the ladies I've had on the podcast in person. So again, I'm hoping we can all meet up somewhere sometime in 2021. I also have this desire to go to Florida and spend some time in Florida. I love Florida. I don't know. I just want to go back. And I also, on my bucket list, is snorkeling with manatees, and that is something I can do in Florida. So hopefully in 2021, I will also go to Florida. And another hope I have for 2021 is to launch my second podcast. So there's something in the works with Katie. We're working on something, and I think it'll be great. I'm super excited for it, and I cannot wait to put it out there for the world to listen to. It's, I'm really excited for that one. So more information coming on that as well. 2021. I think, that's about all I got. I'm not putting too much out there. Who knows what'll happen. That's, if I've learned anything from 2020, it's anything's possible, right? The world might just stop working. So not putting a whole lot of expectations on 2021. It's a building year, as they like to say. But that's it, y'all. That's a look back at 2020 and what I did. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't say this very often, but if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed the podcast, I would love it if you went on over to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and left a review or a rating, or maybe subscribed to the podcast on a platform. Those things really, really help out podcasters, all podcasters. If you listen to any podcast and you enjoy it, you should subscribe, rate, and review, and then share it with everyone you know, because that is what gets us visible and gets our podcast out there, which in turn helps us get sponsors and ads, and that's how we make money. Or if your podcaster if a podcast that you like has a, like a buy me a coffee or a Patreon or anything like that, throw a buck at them. It does wonders. It's amazing. It makes us feel great. We love it and we really appreciate it. Feel free to leave a review, good or bad, rate, review, and subscribe. I hope 2021 is off to a great start for everyone. And with that, get out there, try something new, and have some fucking fun. Bye! Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to check out the Fun with Friends podcast on social media. We are on Instagram at Fun with Friends Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at FunFriendsPod1. You can also reach me by email at funfriendspodcast@gmail.com. And you can go to my website, cootscreations.com, for some fun little extras from the podcast. So definitely head over there and check it out. And as always, remember to get out there, try something new, and have some fun. Goodbye.